The Subaru Outback has been a popular alternative to crossovers practically since crossovers were invented. So all these years later, is this newly updated model still worth a look? What's up, folks? I'm Dave Undercoffler, editor-in-chief of Autolist.com, a sister company to CarGurus. Subaru first introduced this generation of Outback in 2020, and 3 short years later, it's out with this refresh. It brings with it new exterior styling, some additional interior goodies, and safety enhancements. So is all of that enough to keep up with a bumper crop of compelling crossovers from nearly every brand on the market? Let's go find out. But before we do, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. All right, let's take a look at some of the exterior changes Subaru's made for 2023. The biggest change overall is this front grille and front fascia. It's been redesigned. This grille itself is now larger than it used to be. And then you've got some cladding down here that's been reworked over the version that was introduced in 2020. Plus, Subaru has now added these LED headlights that are steering responsive, so they'll follow which direction you're pointing the steering wheel in. Turning to the side of the Outback, the model we're testing here is a fully loaded touring model. So you get 18-inch alloy wheels, lower end trims will get 17-inch wheels there. The touring model also has these brushed metal mirror caps. You've got some chrome work here on the door handles and on the door frames. And this color is called Cosmic Blue Pearl, and I really like it. It's a great alternative to some of the blacks or whites you usually see in a lot of cars today. Finally, at the back, there aren't many changes from the previous version of the Outback. You've got some brushed metal work down below on the bumper. The tailgate is power operated. Most trims of the Outback will have that. And then finally, on our touring trim, we've got a camera mounted up here, and that's for the digital rear view mirror. We'll show you more details on that a little bit later. Under the hood of the Outback, you can get one of 2 engines. Our tester has the base engine. This is a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine that's not turbocharged. It makes 182 horsepower and 176 pound-feet of torque. This engine is rated by the EPA at 26 miles per gallon in the city, 32 miles per gallon on the freeway, and 28 miles per gallon overall. However, in real-world testing that we've been doing, our numbers are definitely lower. I'll tell you more about that a little bit later. Buyers looking for a little more power do have an optional turbocharged engine to choose from on some of the higher end trims. It's also standard on the Wilderness model. That 2.4-liter turbo makes 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. It's rated by the EPA at 22 miles per gallon in the city, 29 on the freeway, and 25 overall. So what do you guys think? Is this base engine and its 187 horsepower enough for this wagon? Let us know in the comments below, and I'm going to share my opinion a little bit later in this video. Regardless of which Outback you choose, all trims come standard with a CVT type of gearbox and Subaru's legendary all-wheel drive. Turning to the inside, not much has changed overall in this refreshed version of the Outback, but there are some little updates that I do appreciate. For one, most models that have this larger screen, this is an 11.6-inch screen, models that have this now get wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto connectivity. Previously, you had to plug it in, so that's just a nice little update. I will say the display area for the CarPlay is a little smaller than you might think, given how big this entire display is. That's because you have one display up here, shows a variety of different things you can sort of toggle through the menu, and then down below you have a dedicated screen space for the climate control. What I like is that there are still physical buttons for both the climate control and then the volume and the tuning. You've got the knobs here, that's the tuning over there. You have dual zone climate control, so it's not all based on the touchscreen. I really do appreciate that. As I mentioned earlier, we're in a fully loaded touring model, so there are some goodies on this trim that you're not going to see on lower end trims. These seats are covered in Napa leather. That's really nice. You get a leather wrapped steering wheel. Up front, the seats are heated and cooled. Other trims, you do get heated seats, but they're only ventilated on this top touring trim. And then up here, you've got the camera-based rear view mirror that I was talking about earlier. I've been using it some, but the perspective just seems a little bit off. That's something I found on any one of these cameras I've used in a variety of vehicles. So I've actually just been using the old school mirror here. Speaking of old school, look what we found in the center console. This is an actual CD player. Clearly someone at Subaru still listens to CDs. They must be one of the only people I know. So you do get a CD player, and that is standard on this touring model. Otherwise, the interior has some nice touches, but it also has some misses. I do like the fact that you've got this stitched leather dashboard here. You've got a tray for your smartphone also below it. You do have some connectivity. You have a USB-A and a USB-C port down here, and a great place to store your phone, but unfortunately it doesn't have wireless smartphone charging. That's a miss, especially on this loaded touring version. Turning to rear seat space, if you've seen these videos before, you know the drill. I put the driver's seat to where I would have it, so basically I'm sitting behind myself. I'm 6'1", and as you can see, plenty of space for a nice long car ride. This Outback has 39.5 inches of rear legroom back here. That's less than the Honda CR-V, but it's more than the Toyota RAV4 and the Nissan Rogue. It's about the same as the Mazda CX-50. But I will tell you, plenty of comfort for a long drive, and that's pretty nice. You also have some nice amenities back here. On this touring version, you have 2-stage heated seats and then more USB ports, one USB-A and one USB-C. And finally, this armrest folds down with some cup holders. When it comes to cargo, this Outback has 32.6 cubic feet of space back here. If you need additional room, you can fold the seats completely flat with just the pull of a lever. I really like that. These seats are split 60-40, and when they are folded, you get 75.6 cubic feet of space. In terms of where that falls for this segment, it's more than most of its competitors, but just under the Honda CR-V. Finally, one other really nice trick I like, it's small, but it's meaningful. You have this cargo cover here, and sometimes you want to take that out. You leave it in the garage, and then it's not there when you actually need it in the car. What's nice about this Outback is that there's space under the floor here for you to store that cargo cover. All right, driving impressions. They're good, but not great. There are some areas where this Outback is starting to show its age. For one, the CVT. I don't like CVTs in general. I much prefer automatics. It's a more natural experience. CVTs feel cheaper, and they tend to push the engine really high into its rev band when you're trying to get some meaningful power. That's exactly what's going on in this car, although I will say Subaru has programmed in some nice artificial shift points, so there are times where it does feel like an automatic, but generally, I just wish it had the old school automatic. So when it comes to CVTs versus a conventional automatic transmission, what do you guys think? Have you had better experiences with automatics, or is the CVT worth it in terms of the cost savings and the increased fuel economy? Let us know in the comments below. And then the engine itself, 182 horsepower on this base engine, it's just not enough. When you get into a situation on the freeway where you need passing power, you need to put your foot down on the gas and floor it, there's just nothing happens when you do that. It's kind of gutless. So if you have the means, if you are able to step up to that turbocharged version, I definitely would recommend that. And it doesn't have to be that much more expensive, right? That turbo comes on the Onyx XT. That's less money for that car than this Touring that we're testing right now. And I would definitely give up some of the goodies that this Touring model has in exchange for that more powerful engine. The rest of the drive experience is pretty good. The suspension is nicely tuned, you have good ground clearance so you can go over some bigger obstacles, the body doesn't roll too much when we're going around curves like this, and the road and wind noise is nicely isolated. It's a pretty quiet, pretty comfortable place to spend some time. One thing I really like is that the visibility in this Outback is excellent, both in the front, in the rear, and then off to the sides. This A pillar in front of me and then the B pillar over my shoulder, they're both pretty thin so they don't get in the way. This is one of those vehicles that hasn't fallen to that trend where the greenhouse is getting condensed in the name of aerodynamics. You've got a tall, commanding view of the road and a great way to see outside the vehicle. Finally, there's a good amount of comfort in this Outback, both in terms of the ride quality and then the seats themselves. And don't think you need to step up to the high-end Touring model that we're in. It's not the leather seats, it's the fact that they are nicely bolstered and have good lumbar support. And then the ride quality, very comfortable even over rough surfaces. When it comes to competition, this Outback has a lot of different models up against it. Most of those are compact crossovers. And what I like about this Outback is that it holds its own in terms of safety, in terms of space, and in terms of reliability. So I would put this up against pretty much anything else in this segment. You're going to do well to choose this vehicle. One area where this Outback does fall short is that there's no hybrid option available. So if you're shopping competitors from brands like Honda, Toyota, Kia, or Hyundai, all of those offer hybrids and in most cases plug-in hybrid versions of their vehicles. Not so here, so that is a mark against this. When it comes to safety, all Outback models come standard with EyeSight, which is Subaru's suite of active safety features. This system has been enhanced for 2023 in that the cameras now have a wider field of vision, the software has been updated, and there's now an electric brake booster. EyeSight includes features like automatic emergency braking, forward collision warnings and braking, adaptive cruise control with lane centering, lane keep assist, lane departure and vehicle sway warnings, and automatic high beams. Starting with the Onyx trim, the Outback also adds blind spot monitoring with lane change assist and rear cross traffic alerts. Finally, this Touring trim adds a driver monitoring system that will alert you if you've taken your eyes off the road for too long. All right, folks, there you have it, our review of the 2023 Subaru Outback. Pros, well, it's got excellent all-wheel drive and off-road capabilities, impressive safety tech, and plenty of space inside for both people and cargo. Cons, well, the base engine can certainly feel gutless in some situations. We don't love the CVT type of gearbox, and there's no hybrid option available. But overall, this Outback has definitely aged well, and we would certainly recommend it, particularly the Onyx XT. That gets you the turbocharged engine and all of the features and amenities that make the Outback great. So for reviews or listings of this Outback or anything else you're shopping for, new or used, be sure to check out CarGurus.com. And before you go, like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. Thanks for watching.